Welcome back to the channel and thank you for joining me once again as we dive deep into the world of rare coins, unbelievable minting stories, and the hidden treasures that could be sitting quietly in old jars, drawers, or forgotten boxes. And today we're exploring a coin that has sent shockwaves through the collecting community, a piece that has become the center of a mystery, a legend, and a heated discussion among experts and hobbyists alike, the 1992 D1 cent coin, a penny so seemingly ordinary yet rumored to have crossed into the realm of ultra-rarity with a supposed value of $71 million because of an extraordinary combination of errors, anomalies, unexplained production oddities, and historical circumstances that make this small copper-coated zinc disc far more than change in your pocket. And as we dive into this story, we're going to unpack every possibility and every strange detail that could make a humble 1992 D penny worth such an unimaginable sum. Starting with the coin's background and the fascinating moment in United States minting history when this penny emerged, because the early 1990s were a transitional era for the Lincoln cent series, filled with subtle design shifts, experimental die preparations, adjustments to engraving details, and evolving minting technologies that created perfect conditions for rare and unexpected mistakes to slip through. And the 1992 D penny sits right at the heart of this era, when the mint was shifting from the older design style to the upcoming close AM style of the reverse, and this unique transitional period produced one of the most coveted modern eras ever seen, the 1992 close AM coin. And although the Philadelphia close AM is better known, the Denver version is exponentially rarer, with only a microscopic number of authenticated examples, which instantly places it among the rarest modern pennies ever discovered. But the coin we're discussing today is rumored to be the pinnacle of all. 1992 D errors, a specimen that not only features the close AM transition but might also contain additional layers of mistakes, doubling anomalies, die deterioration patterns, planchet inconsistencies, and striking irregularities that could combine into a perfect storm of rarity, pushing its theoretical value into the tens of millions. And when collectors talk about value skyrocketing like this, they're not simply pointing at one single error, because a coin reaching such monstrous value needs multiple, overlapping, extremely uncommon conditions stacking together like a once-in-history accident, and the 1992 D penny presents endless possibilities for this kind of anomaly convergence, beginning with the close AM design itself, where the A and M in America nearly touch instead of being widely separated as they were supposed to be for circulation coins of that year. And this tiny design detail instantly distinguishes the coin from the millions of regular 1992 D cents, but imagine if this particular penny doesn't just have the close AM, but also shows signs of master die misalignment, microscopic doubling on the lettering, or even a rotational strike that places the obverse and reverse out of alignment, a highly coveted error that significantly boosts collector appeal. And then factor in the possibility of a die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, leaving faint ghost-like impressions on the surfaces of the coin, creating a strange layered look that collectors immediately recognize as the signature of a rare mint accident. And if this coin includes even faint evidence of such clashing, combined with the wrong design pairing of the close AM reverse, the value compounds dramatically. But there's even more to consider because the planchet itself plays a crucial role in determining value. And if this 1992 D penny was accidentally struck on a transitional planchet, such as leftover bronze alloy from pre-1982 production or even a foreign planchet or a misweighed zinc blank, it would become not just rare but singular, a coin that shouldn't exist. And coins that should not exist are exactly the ones that attract astronomical valuations. And we must also consider the possibility of die polishing remnants, where the mint staff attempted to grind or smooth the die surface to address damage or fill, leaving behind unusual patterns, missing details, or extra lines that appear on coins struck afterward. And when these polishing marks mix with a transitional design like the close AM pattern, the resulting combination can create a visually distinct variety that stands apart from all others, giving collectors something uniquely identifiable to chase. And this uniqueness is a major driver of million-dollar valuations, because the rarer and more visually distinct the error, the stronger the demand becomes among elite collectors, who compete fiercely for one-of-a-kind mint anomalies. And then there's the role of historical context, because the Denver Mint in 1992 was undergoing subtle operational changes, adjusting technician assignments, replacing older equipment, refining die processing procedures, and moving toward more consistent die preparation standards, which means a rare transitional die like the close AM die might have been used for only a tiny number of strikes, possibly only a handful of coins before being replaced. And when a coin is struck during such a brief and unintentional production window, each surviving example becomes unbelievably rare, and if the very limited run of these coins included one that also suffered from a striking pressure inconsistency, where the force applied varied slightly, causing weaker or stronger lettering in some areas, this again contributes to its uniqueness, and a unique error is exactly what collectors dream of, especially when it's tied to a series as globally collected as the Lincoln cent. And then imagine if this specific 1992 D penny, the one rumored to be worth $71 million, has a particularly clean strike, minimal circulation wear, and unusually sharp preservation, perhaps even approaching gem state condition despite its age. And if such a coin exists with all the previously mentioned error features intact, then its desirability among elite collectors, private investors, and museums could ignite competition that pushes bidding into unprecedented territory, because rarity alone doesn't make a coin legendary. Rarity combined with desirability, historical significance, error convergence, visual uniqueness, and high-grade preservation is what builds legends, and when all these characteristics unite in a single coin, the result is a numismatic masterpiece whose value transcends ordinary metrics. And the excitement surrounding this 1992 D penny comes from exactly this idea that somewhere out there in the world might exist a specimen with the perfect combination of transitional design, mint error magnitude, unexpected die pairing, near impossible production sequence, unique visual markers, and exceptional preservation, making it the ultimate modern penny and the kind of discovery that could completely rewrite the narrative of modern coin collecting. And as collectors analyze these possibilities, they point out tiny clues that might support the idea of such a valuable specimen, like the Denver Mint's known use of leftover dies from previous master hubs, or the subtle changes made to the reverse lettering spacing during 1992, or reports from former Mint employees recalling how experimental die preparations sometimes remained in storage longer than intended, creating opportunities for accidental usage during high-volume production runs. And all of this contributes to the aura surrounding the 1992 D penny, adding layers of intrigue that transform this coin from a piece of change into a numismatic mystery. And when stories emerge about collectors finding strange anomalies on 1992 D cents, such as unusually strong rim details, incomplete plating exposure, doubled earlobe shapes, microscopic shifts in the spacing of the motto, or ghost-like traces of earlier die impressions, the speculation intensifies, because every anomaly could be a clue pointing toward the existence of a truly exceptional coin. And the world of rare coins thrives on these stories, where tiny physical features can mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth millions. And when the idea of a $71 million valuation enters the conversation, it becomes a symbol of how powerful this fascination can be, a reminder that coins are more than metal, they're pieces of history, accidental artifacts of human error and mechanical imperfection, and collectors love them precisely because of those imperfections. And the 1992 D penny embodies that passion in every way, a coin whose potential errors and mistakes represent a perfect storm of minting history, mechanical unpredictability, and the ever-present likelihood of anomalies slipping through unnoticed. And as we explore each of these possibilities, from close AM rarity to die clashes, doubling variations, planchet mistakes, transitional anomalies, reverse pattern experiments, misaligned hubs, retained interior die breaks, repolishing trails, rim burr remnants, subtle plating bubbles, and more, the narrative becomes richer and more compelling because each possibility adds another layer to the mythos of this extraordinary penny, painting a picture of a coin so unlikely, so unique, so impossibly rare that its value skyrockets into the tens of millions, capturing the imaginations of collectors worldwide. And that's why people continue searching through rolls, examining old jars, revisiting childhood collections, and scanning coin after coin with magnifying glasses and digital microscopes, hoping that maybe, just maybe, the legendary 1992 D penny with the perfect storm of errors is still out there. Next. 1988. Today we're exploring the incredible tale of the 1988 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors, surprised experts, and amazed ordinary people because of the shocking claim that a specific 1988 penny, thanks to a combination of extraordinary minting errors, die mistakes, unusual production circumstances, and rare characteristics, has been valued at an unbelievable $21 million. And in this video we're going to break down exactly what makes this humble copper-plated zinc cent so special. How a coin that usually buys absolutely nothing in everyday life ends up being considered a multi-million-dollar artifact, what types of errors and oddities transform an ordinary penny into something almost mythical, and why collectors become absolutely obsessed with these tiny clues that point to a once-in-a-lifetime minting event. So buckle up, because we're about to take a deep dive into every possibility, every historical factor, every type of error, and every strange anomaly that collectors believe could push the value of a 1988 penny to $21 million or more, as we explore the mysteries surrounding the production of this year, the transition between different minting processes, the confusion between reverse designs, the microscopic details that signal a rare die variety, and the thrilling chase that leads treasure hunters to examine millions of cents in hopes of stumbling upon the legendary piece that could change their lives, starting with the fascinating context of 1988 itself, a year in which the U.S. Mint was still adjusting to the major changes introduced in the early 1980s, including the switch from copper to zinc cores, the continuing experimentation with die hubs, the transitional periods between reverse designs, and the constant maintenance needed on minting equipment, all of which created opportunities for mistakes that ended up slipping through the cracks. And among these possibilities, one of the most discussed and deeply studied is the idea that certain 1988 pennies were accidentally struck with reverse hubs intended for later years, creating a transitional variety that collectors call a reverse of 1989 on a 1988 obverse, a stunning combination that shouldn't exist but does in extremely limited numbers. And the moment collectors realized that the reverse of some 1988 cents had the distinct shape of the FG initials, positioned differently and designed differently from the intended reverse of 1988, they knew these coins were something extraordinary, because transitional errors are among the most valuable mistakes in numismatics, and anytime a mint accidentally uses the wrong die, especially during a period of design change, the resulting coins instantly become some of the rarest in the world. And the fact that the mint was undergoing modifications in hub details at this exact time makes the 1988 penny a perfect target for unexpected combinations, and when you consider that only a microscopic fraction of all coins struck may display these unusual characteristics, the rarity skyrockets, feeding collector demand and pushing the value of exceptional examples into the realm of the unbelievable, especially if a coin exhibits not just a transitional reverse error but multiple overlapping mistakes, such as off-center striking caused by misaligned dies, doubled dies from die slippage or hub doubling, die cracks that form raised lines across Lincoln's portrait or the memorial building, broad strikes resulting from collar malfunctions, or even planchet issues like incomplete plating that exposes zinc beneath the copper layer, blistering caused by gas between the metal layers, or wrong planchet errors where a cent might be accidentally struck on a foreign coin blank or a leftover copper planchet from earlier years. And when errors like these combine, even small ones amplify the uniqueness of a specific coin, enabling it to stand out among the billions of 1988 cents struck. And collectors understand that when you bring together a transitional reverse with strong doubling on the date or portrait, plus a misaligned die strike or crisp off-center strike, you create a coin so impossible, so visually striking, and so historically significant that it becomes priceless to the right buyer. And that's how the myth of the $21 million 1988 penny took shape. Not as a random claim but as the result of decades of collectors hunting down rare transition errors from the late 1980s and realizing just how scarce these pieces truly are. Because the U.S. Mint never intended to mix reverse hubs between different years, never intended to release coins with crisp die cracks that stretch across Lincoln's head, never intended for the initials of the engraver to appear in places they shouldn't, and certainly never intended for wrong planchet errors to slip through unnoticed. But the minting process is fast, intense, and done at industrial scale, meaning that the smallest oversight, like installing the wrong reverse die or failing to catch a planchet of the wrong metal, could result in a monumental mistake. And now imagine that this hypothetical $21 million 1988 penny contains not just one error but multiple stacking errors, perhaps the reverse of 1989 paired with a double die obverse that gives Lincoln's eye a ghost-like second image, adding a dramatic visual element that collectors adore. Or perhaps the rim is unusually thick due to a striking pressure anomaly. Or the coin is slightly oversized from a broad strike that lacks the usual raised rim, or maybe even struck on a transitional planchet that has a marginally different weight, detectable only by precise scales. And every one of these factors adds layers of rarity, and collectors know that the market for error coins depends on supply and demand, and when supply is virtually non-existent, demand explodes instantly, especially because the story behind such coins becomes part of their value, allowing the legend of the $21 million 1988 penny to grow as people discuss the unlikelihood of such mistakes happening in the late 1980s, a time when quality control had improved significantly compared to earlier decades, making any surviving error from this era even more extraordinary. And the idea that one coin out of billions could be the ultimate outlier captures the imagination of every collector, inspiring them to search through pocket change, old jars of coins, inherited collections and rolls from banks in hopes of finding that unmistakable transitional reverse or that unmistakable doubling on the word liberty or that dramatic crack stretching from the rim through Lincoln's portrait, and each detail, no matter how small, fuels the excitement, because the 1988 penny sits at a unique crossroads in numismatic history where design transitions, die changes, and metal shifts overlapped in ways that created opportunities for rare mistakes, and when you look at the possibilities, you realize why collectors treat the year 1988 with respect, knowing that buried somewhere among the ordinary cents could be one legendary specimen combining transitional errors, hub anomalies, dramatic visual mistakes, and unexpected striking results, and the mystery surrounding that coin, the speculation about its existence, the whispers among numismatists about a uniquely preserved example found in pristine condition, adds to the intrigue, because condition matters greatly in determining a coin's potential value. And if the once-in-a-generation 1988 penny exists in gem-uncirculated state, with brilliant original luster, clean fields, sharp devices, and minimal contact marks despite being decades old, that alone multiplies its worth dramatically, and when combined with rare errors, collectors could easily argue that its value reaches into the tens of millions, because rarity plus demand plus historical significance equals astronomical value, and that is why the legend of the $21 million 1988 penny continues to grow, as each new discovery of a minor error or transitional reverse reminds collectors that the minting process is never perfect and that even the most ordinary-looking coin can hide extraordinary secrets, inspiring treasure hunters to look closer, study harder, examine every tiny detail of Lincoln's portrait, the lettering, the memorial building, the FG initials, the rim, the thickness, the weight, the strike and the overall appearance. Because the difference between an ordinary penny and a multimillion-dollar masterpiece often lies in just a few microscopic details, and that obsession keeps the search alive, fueling stories, motivating collectors and making people dream that maybe, just maybe, they could be the ones to find the mythical piece worth $21 million. So if you enjoyed this deep exploration into the amazing world of rare coins and the incredible possibilities surrounding the 1988 penny, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more unbelievable coin stories and hit the bell so you never miss out on the next treasure hunting adventure. Next. 1986 D today as we dive into another incredible story from the world of rare coins, a world where small pieces of copper, nickel, or clad metal suddenly become the stuff of legends, and in this journey we're going straight into the heart of one of the most dramatic rumors to ever circulate in numismatic discussions, the astonishing claim that a humble 1986 D 1-cent coin, a penny minted in Denver and usually worth just a single cent, could skyrocket in value to an unbelievable $41 million because of a combination of errors, mistakes, anomalies, and rare conditions that collectors dream of. And as we explore these stories and possibilities, we're going to unravel how tiny details, minting quirks, mechanical glitches, and human oversight can transform something almost everyone ignores into a treasure that could change someone's life. So get comfortable as we walk through the fascinating world of minting errors, dramatic mistrikes, overlooked die variations, mysterious production irregularities, and all the elements that fuel the legend of why a 1986 D penny could possibly be viewed as worth such an extraordinary amount of money, because when a coin takes on mythic status like this, its story becomes just as important as its actual physical attributes. And to understand how such a value is even imagined, we have to go all the way back to the mid-1980s when the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies every year, quickly shifting to zinc based production after 1982 and dealing with the complexities that came with striking copper-plated zinc planchets that were prone to plating issues, cracks, bubbles, and weaknesses that were very different from the traditional solid copper composition that people were familiar with. And this era created a whole new world of possible errors simply because the minting machinery had to adapt rapidly and often produced coins with small flaws that passed through quality control, meaning that the 1986 D penny is already part of a period known for interesting mistakes, and those mistakes can serve as the foundation for extraordinary collector excitement. But what exactly could make a 1986 D penny rumored to be worth $41 million? What kinds of errors or possibilities fuel that belief? And how could a simple coin become wrapped in such dramatic speculation? Well, first we need to look at the landscape of minting errors themselves, because in that realm possibilities range from minor anomalies to unbelievably rare mint events that can send coin values through the roof. and the 1986 D penny sits right in that sweet spot where these rare possibilities could exist, starting with the idea of off-metal strikes, which occur when a penny is accidentally struck on the wrong type of planchet, such as a dime-sized blank, a foreign coin blank, or even bronze blanks left over from pre-1983 production, and if such a coin existed for the 1986 D year, it would create a massive value boost, since collectors treat off-metal strikes as some of the holy grails of United States mint mistakes, and because transitional years and experimental planchets have produced iconic million-dollar coins like the 1943 copper cent or the 1944 steel cent. The idea of a modern year like 1986 having a similar off-metal incident fuels huge speculation. And next we enter the realm of dramatic die errors, which can occur when the dies used to strike the coin suffer from damage, doubling, misalignment, or imperfections, and among these one of the most famous categories is double dies, where the details of the design appear duplicated or shadowed due to die misalignment during hubbing, and many collectors immediately associate double dies with massive value because of well-known examples like the 1955 double die or the 1969 S double die, coins that sell for enormous sums. So naturally, any rumor that a 1986 D penny exists with a dramatic double die error can spark huge discussions, and though no confirmed examples of a major double die for this year are widely documented, the possibility alone opens the door to wild valuations, especially because collectors know that not every error is discovered immediately and some can remain hidden in circulation for decades before someone notices them. And the 1986 D penny has also been tied to rumors of extreme struck-through errors, where foreign material such as cloth fibers, grease, wire, or even mint debris gets trapped between the die and planchet during the strike, causing unusual textures, missing details, deep indentations, or ghost-like impressions. And while struck-through errors exist commonly in minor forms, the truly dramatic ones can be exceptionally valuable, especially if large portions of the design are missing or distorted yet the coin still retains structural integrity. And when collectors imagine a rare combination error, such as a double strike combined with a wrong planchet or a struck-through anomaly combined with a misaligned die, values skyrocket even further because multi-level errors are far rarer than single-category ones and can fetch huge prices at auctions. But the rumor of $41 million goes even deeper because it pulls from the fascination people have with unique coins, that is, coins that represent one-of-a-kind minting accidents where no second example exists. And in numismatics, uniqueness is king, since collectors and investors crave the idea of owning something so rare that it redefines the limits of the hobby. And when you attach that sense of uniqueness to a circulating coin from an ordinary year like 1986, the mystery grows even more intense, because people begin to imagine scenarios such as an improperly annealed planchet that produced rainbow-like toning combined with a dramatic off-center strike, or a coin struck with mismatched dies from different years, a phenomenon called a mule error, which is one of the most valuable types of mistakes ever seen, with known examples selling for hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars. And if a mule involving a 1986 D penny and another denomination or mismatched die pairing ever surfaced, that coin would immediately become the focus of global collecting attention, and that is exactly the sort of possibility that fuels the mythic valuation, because even though the United States Mint is extremely careful, mistakes can and do happen, and in rare cases they escape into the public's hands, and once the story gets out, collectors everywhere start imagining what might be hidden in jars, drawers, piggy banks, old coffee cans, or forgotten boxes of pocket change. And when you combine that sense of possibility with online speculation, social media exaggeration, and the excitement of the modern coin collecting community, values get inflated mentally to levels that aren't grounded in the market but rather in the dream of finding something priceless, and that dream is what pushes stories like the $41 million 1986 D penny into viral territory, because people love to imagine that the ordinary can suddenly become extraordinary, that a piece of money worth 1 cent could instead represent a life-changing discovery, financial freedom, or the thrill of uncovering a treasure that millions of people overlooked. And when we continue examining the possibilities, we also have to discuss the copper-plated zinc composition used after 1982, which introduced a range of potential plating-related errors, such as plating bubbles, where trapped gas under the copper layer creates raised circular blisters on the surface. And while most plating bubbles aren't extremely valuable, certain extreme cases involving massive swelling, exposed zinc, cracks running across Lincoln's portrait, or deep fissures that make the coin appear fractured can become highly desirable, especially when combined with additional errors like off-center strikes or doubling. And Because the mid-1980s were a period of continued refinement in the new penny production process, unusual experimental planchets or misprocessed blanks could theoretically exist, creating coins with weight abnormalities, color variations, or structural inconsistencies that collectors go crazy for. And weight anomalies can significantly increase a coin's desirability because some errors occur when an incorrect blank ends up in the wrong bin, such as a thicker or thinner blank than intended, and if a 1986 D penny were accidentally struck on a leftover pre-1982 solid copper planchet instead of the zinc core planchet, that alone could cause massive collector interest, especially if paired with other striking oddities. And then there's the idea of extremely high-grade examples, where the sharpness of the strike, the pristine surfaces, and the perfect preservation of the coin make it valuable simply because it's rare to find such flawless examples in circulation, and though high grades alone don't bring values anywhere close to the rumored 41 million, they do lay the groundwork for the idea that condition, rarity, and extraordinary error potential align to create a mythic coin, and as stories grow over time, small kernels of truth about rare errors get blended with imagination, leading to rumors of coins with dramatic three-dimensional doubling, triple strikes, mirror-like surfaces combined with unique minting conditions, or even planchets with composition testing marks accidentally left by mint workers. And while these ideas are often exaggerated or entirely speculative, they inspire ongoing searches among collectors who hope that the next handful of change they check might reveal something unbelievable, and the story around the 1986 D penny taps directly into this excitement. Imagining a coin with multiple simultaneous mint errors so extraordinary that it would be considered the only one of its kind. Today we're talking about the rumored $48 million mystery surrounding the 2012 D Lincoln 1-cent coin, a tiny copper-plated zinc penny from Denver that has sparked endless conversation thanks to a mix of rare mint errors, unusual production anomalies, unexpected die varieties, and the strange possibilities that have convinced collectors that under very specific conditions this everyday coin could be worth big money. And as we get into this story, we're going to uncover the kinds of minting mistakes that make experts lean in, examine shocking die problems that shouldn't have happened in such a modern year, explore the possibilities behind why so many collectors believe a small group of these coins could command life-changing values if authenticated, and of course take you through the wild world of misaligned dies, double designs, filled mint marks, off-metal strikes, planchet issues, improperly annealed surfaces, transitional hints, ghostly doubling, and everything else that has created the mythos around the 2012 D penny. So settle in, because this is a story filled with twists, speculation, and the kind of numismatic mystery that keeps collectors digging through pocket change even today. Starting with the fact that 2012 was a year when the Denver Mint was producing billions of pennies but still somehow managed to let through some of the strangest inconsistencies found in modern circulation, inconsistencies that become even more valuable because modern minting is supposed to be clean, precise, and machine perfect, meaning any significant flaw becomes dramatically more desirable. And that brings us to one of the most talked about possibilities behind the alleged multimillion-dollar evaluation, the idea that a very small number of 2012 D pennies may have been struck with experimental or leftover planchets. Because while the mint had fully transitioned to copper-plated zinc long before 2012, there are whispers of copper-weighted anomalies that show mass readings that don't match standard modern specs. And when collectors see a penny from a modern year weighing closer to old-school copper values, even if it's only slightly off, the imagination takes off as people speculate about transitional errors, wrong planchet strikes, or even special test planchets accidentally released into circulation. And one reason collectors get excited is that a wrong planchet strike can theoretically leap into the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on rarity. But when you combine that with the mysterious low number rumors about 2012 D and the difficulty of confirming how many such anomalies actually exist, you get the fuel for the idea that an extreme rarity could reach astronomically high values if multiple improbable factors align, including provenance, condition, and error severity. And speaking of condition, many 2012 D pennies were discovered with unusually sharp or unusually mushy details, and this range of unexpected quality has caused some collectors to point out die deterioration, doubling, and even early die state anomalies that give the coin subtle distortions, like ghost images, spread lettering, or faint doubling in the date or legends, giving some of these pennies visual traits that stand out instantly to trained eyes. And when doubling occurs on the date, especially with a year like 2012 where the numerals have clean geometric shapes, the effect can be striking enough to make collectors believe they've stumbled upon something extraordinary. And that leads us to another major element of the story, the mint mark itself, because the D-mint mark on some 2012 Denver pennies appears distorted, filled, or smeared in a way that suggests dye chips, grease-filled dyes, or partial obstruction during strike, and while these types of errors don't usually skyrocket to millions, the particular combination of a filled mint mark plus doubling plus planchet anomalies creates a kind of perfect storm scenario that enthusiasts love to imagine, especially when considering that rare combinations of multiple error types on a single coin can multiply value dramatically. And then we also have the theories about misaligned die strikes, which some 2012 D pennies appear to show, with obverse misalignment causing the portrait of Lincoln to drift slightly off-center or appear oddly tilted, and misaligned dies, when dramatic, create coins that sit outside normal tolerances and therefore become collectible, especially if the misalignment is accompanied by rim distortions or off-center elements, and some collectors have reported 2012 D pennies with reverse misalignment that gives the shield design an almost curved or slanted appearance, which raises speculation about the Denver Mint running worn machinery, hastily adjusted presses, or undermaintained systems during certain production cycles, leading to errors that theoretically shouldn't be possible in a highly automated modern mint. And that sense that something slipped through the cracks in a modern era is exactly what drives the fascination behind these errors, because modern minting is supposed to catch almost everything, so when something strange appears, it becomes instantly more intriguing. And then we also have the talk about unusually strong die breaks, the kind that create raised lines, cracks, or chips that map across Lincoln's portrait or streak through the shield on the reverse, and if a dramatic retained cud appeared on a 2012 D penny, that alone would catch attention, since cuds can bring serious premiums, especially in modern coins where large die breaks are far less common. And then there are the more speculative theories, such as a tiny batch of prototype dies being tested, early-stage shield reverses being tweaked, or certain machines producing slight design distortions as operators experimented with pressure or alignment. And while none of this is officially confirmed, the beauty of numismatics is how unconfirmed possibilities can spark intense interest, especially when collectors know that even a single verified unexpected die trial could be worth a fortune. And then we get into the extreme speculation that fuels the eye-popping figure of $38 million, because that kind of number isn't attached to ordinary errors, it's attached to the rarest possible combinations, like a modern penny struck on a foreign planchet accidentally fed into the machine, or a 2012 D penny struck on a bronze planchet that somehow slipped through decades after bronze was discontinued, something so improbable that even entertaining the idea creates excitement. And although these theories may not yet be backed by confirmed examples, the possibility, however tiny, is enough to motivate some collectors to imagine what could happen if such a coin ever surfaced. And when you consider that auction houses have sold modern errors for incredible prices when they're the only known example of their type, it becomes easy to see how the legend grows, especially once it circulates online among collectors who love imagining that the next monumental discovery is sitting in a jar of change on someone's desk. And then there's the fact that some 2012 D pennies appear to have blistering, plating bubbles, or surface swellings caused by poor adhesion between the zinc core and the copper plating. And while plating bubbles are common and usually not extremely valuable, a very large bubble, especially one that distorts part of the design or creates a dramatic raised shape, can become a novelty coin worth hundreds, and sometimes thousands if the bubble is especially unusual or visually impressive. And some have even speculated about a hypothetical scenario where a massive bubble combined with doubling, misalignment, and die cracks could create a one-of-a-kind modern error so distinct that it becomes a trophy piece. And again, it's the stacking of unlikely events that fuels these extravagant value theories. And speaking of stacked events, imagine a single 2012 D penny that exhibits a wrong planchet error, a visible double die, a filled mint mark, and a retained cut all at the same time, the kind of coin that shouldn't logically exist yet theoretically could if the perfect storm of mistakes occurred in a short production window. And it's that imagination, the possibility, however remote, that drives collectors to value the idea of such a coin so highly. Because in numismatics the rarest, most visually dramatic, and least repeatable errors always command the highest prices, and when people attach hypothetical values, they look to past auctions where unbelievably rare error coins shattered expectations, leading to the belief that if a perfect, dramatic, multi-error 2012 D penny ever surfaced in pristine condition, it could command a multimillion-dollar figure with ease simply because modern errors of that magnitude are almost non-existent. And so the myth continues to grow, blending real error types, hypothetical combinations, speculative rarity, and the excitement of imagining uncovering a fortune in an ordinary place. and that is why collectors continue searching every 2012 penny they come across, inspecting the date, checking the weight, studying the mint mark, scanning the shield, looking at the rims, analyzing the surfaces and hoping that maybe, just maybe, they will find the coin that brings together all the right impossibilities and becomes the legendary multi-million-dollar modern penny.